All right, back from extended weekend, holiday weekend. I'm gonna start this morning off with logarithmic functions and their graphs. So basically the main thing I'm gonna focus on is switching between the form of log and exponents. So on the board, I have 2 to the third power is equal to 8. What we're looking at right now is something that's in exponent form. All right, this is exponent form. So what we're looking at now is what we call a logarithm, or log for short. So the first form we saw was an exponent. This form is a log form. So your main takeaway for this is a log establishes a relationship between a base and its exponent. That's the main thing. A log will establish a relationship between a base and its exponent. So here's a general rule. Right now we're looking at something that's in exponent form. We have b to the y is equal to x. That's your exponent form. Now we can convert this to what we call a log form by saying the log base of b of x is equal to y. Now this is what we call a log form. Now for these two to happen, for this to happen, to go from this form to that form, is a couple of things that have to be true. And these are your conditions. X has to be greater than 0. That means whatever this number is has to be a positive number. All right, that has to be a positive number. And the next thing is b has to be bigger than 0, but it cannot equal 1. So as long as this number is bigger than 0 and not equal to 1, then all of this works. All right. So that's your general rule before we can talk about switching back and forth between exponent form and log form. All right, so here we go. We're switching exponent form to log form. So if I give you this one, which is the exponent form, 2 to the third power is equal to 8, there's a way that we can switch it into log form. I always say when you write down the problem here, go ahead right below it and write log and keep that equal sign even. And then from here, it's just going to be some movement. So I'm going to draw the arrows and then drop numbers. All right. All right, so the easiest thing to do first, I always like to focus on what's easier to do first so that at least you don't make that mistake, is this base remains a base. So we call that a subscript. You don't write it on the same line as you would your regular numbers. You kind of drop it. It's like the opposite of an exponent. So you lower that number. So that number kind of stays where it is. It doesn't move across the equal sign. Now, these two numbers do. So when we're switching from exponent form to log form, just know this one drops. It remains your base. 8 comes in, 3 goes out. And then what we've done was we've switched it from a log form to exponent form. All right, so we have 5 to the second power is equal to 25. That's exponent form. That means the log will say log. Remember that, log first. 5 drops, 25 in. 2 comes out. See that? The 2 comes out. 25 goes back in. And now we have it in log form. Okay, now we're looking at an example where we reverse the order. This time we have a log form first. Now we're going to switch it back into what we call exponent form. So this way is going to be a little bit different from the first example when we went from exponent to log, where you drop the number down, then you crisscross. This one is going to be more of a circular motion, starting with the base itself. All right, you take the base, you raise it to that number, and then it equals that number. All right, so you raise, and now it's equal. See, you raise this, equal to that. All right, 3 raised to the second equals 9, and it goes in a circle. So basically that means if we're taking this and writing this in exponent form, it's 3 to the second equals 9, and it's done. That's all you really have to do, nothing else to it. All right, so I have a log base 3 of 81 equals 4. Log base 3 of 81 is equal to 4. So we start with the 3, raise it to the 4th, equals to 81. So 3 to the 4th power is 81, exponent form. That's all you have to do. Once you kind of get that under control, going between log and exponent form, exponent and log form, and vice versa, just going back and forth, it's going to be that process that allows us to solve an equation. So I have an example where I actually throw in that variable. You're going to have a missing variable that you have to find, but it won't make sense a lot of times until you know how to switch the formats up. All right, this one wants us to evaluate log base 7 of 49 is equal to x. So the goal is, what is x? So if you kind of caught on to the pattern, you may know that answer automatically, but I still want to kind of show you the switching of the formats so that that is the process that we start to get used to. All right, so here we go. We got 7 raised to the x power is equal to 49. So I write it, 7 to the x power is equal to 49. And if you know anything about your exponents, we know that x has to be the number 2 because 7 to the second power is 49. So the answer here is 2. That means when I type in this, the answer is 2. That is a 2. And here's my calculator here, log base 7 of 49. I hit enter. The answer is 2. That's why we get a 2, because it's really, we're inversing it to an exponent form to figure out what the exponent actually is. All right, so a log establishes a relationship between a base and exponent. They are also inverses of each other. Logs and exponents, they inverse each other. Those are your two main things right there. The third thing, or the thing that you may want to look at or practice or look over, are just regular exponent rules. Just know how to deal with exponents when they're integers or when they're fractions. If you know how to deal with exponents as integers and as fractions, then everything about this is pretty much easy, and it goes back into knowing like simple arithmetic now. So there are logs and exponents going on, but if you know your rules, it's just simple math, addition and subtraction, multiplication or division. And if this is your first time checking me out, you can search me right there in YouTube. That's the spelling. It's going to give you a list, and there I am right there. Just subscribe to that channel there. I have videos going up every day. You can leave comments and anything. A lot of times I end up doing videos based on what someone may have asked me. So if it's something that you are unclear about, you can just hit me up. I might come up with some type of explanation for you.